Hello everyone, you're watching Shaz It Up a Bit with Facebook group Cricket Fans of Australia. Please like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel and also to our Facebook group Cricket Fans of Australia. Hi everyone, Sharon Richardson here. I've had a request for a mask that doesn't touch your lips. Now that might be a little bit out there, but I thought, okay, so I would get to the task and make a mask for a lady who doesn't like, she just doesn't like it touching her mouth. So of course when you're talking and you've got the mask on, it does sort of tend to go right onto your face. So I've come up with a pattern in Design Space, which I will share with you all for I guess you could say it looks like a duck's bill. Actually, one of my students said that it looks a bit like a duck's bill, but the shape of it is like that, but it does serve the purpose. So I'm going to go over to Design Space and show you how it's put together as well with the sewing process. So I'll just go over to the monitor here and switch it over to Design Space. Here we go. All right, so here's our Design Space, and we have a lining as well as a outer fabric. So you can choose whichever fabric that you like, and I'll show you what I'm going to use in a moment, but I just want to take you through the actual pattern of it. You've got the lower part of the mask and then you've got the upper part of the mask. And you have that twice because one is the self fabric, which is the outer fabric, and one is the lining. Now for the lining, I'm using a flannelette, and for the outer, it's just a straight cotton. If you want to put some filter through the middle of it, you're quite welcome to do that. If you've got something there that you might want to put in as a filter, it could be just a piece of calico, or it could be even one that is charcoal infused or anything like that. So you could possibly put that through there as well. Now when I go back to the creative space that I've got here, where on my desk, I'll actually show you what I put through around this area here. This area here will create the nose area. And this part here around the top and the bottom will then, or the lower, will then create where it actually goes around your mouth area. It does have elastic around the sides, and these two little notches that are here, they actually are there for the boning. It's called boning, or you can use what you would put around even cardboard boxes, and I'll show you that in a second. But it is like a casing, so when you sew them together it forms a seam, and on that seam is where you actually put your piece of boning, or I'm not sure what those things are that go around the boxes, but they sort of are like boning. They're made of a plastic type material. And then you just shape it towards for your nose area. So I'm going to go back to what it is that I use to put this all together. So I'll be back to Design Space in just a moment. Okay, so here we have our mats, and our first mat has all the words on it as well as the instructions there, with 5 1/4 inches for the boning or the wire or whatever you want to put in the top. Also the 11 inches there is what would be for a man size. Lady size would be around 11 inches or thereabouts. You could make them both 10 if you like, but yeah, I guess some ladies are a little bit smaller in the face than what the men are. For a child size, of course, you'd go down a little bit more, probably round to about 7 inches for each loop. Then our mat number 2, which is where we will start to cut, that has our outer fabric, and our mat number 3 will be our lining. Now these areas here where these little notches are, and one's behind the other, this one is behind. That actually just tells you, and it's a score line, it just tells you where the boning will go. Okay, so I'm going to start cutting on mat number 2. Just go forward, get our fabric on our mat. Now of course when you're using when you're using the fabric mat, please make sure that you bray your fabric down onto your mat, and I'll just pop over there and show you what I mean. Just before I cut it, I just want to share with you that I have chosen the fabric as cotton, and it's asking me for the single scoring wheel, so I'm going to pop that in there. And that's just mainly for people that want to give this a go and make their own mask, or make a mask for somebody else, or family members or friends, or whoever that they want to make one for. But it's just a guideline there for people who don't really sew. Okay, for someone that does sew, it's not a necessary thing, but it's there for those that do, that need to have it there as a guideline. And for the little time that it takes, it's it's quite handy for someone who doesn't actually sew. It's quite handy for them to follow the line. So even if you've got children that like to sew, then it's a good thing for them to be able to follow it as well. Okay, so now we'll pop in the blade. And now it's detecting the blade. Now it's doing the cutting, and once it's finished the cutting, then I'll come back to you. Okay, so now here we are. We've got one lot there already, and we're going to take off the other lot. This area here will go in the seam allowance, and I'm not sure whether you can actually see it or not, but for those who don't do a lot of sewing, they'll be able to see, you might be able to see the score lines there. Can you see the score lines there? And they run right along, and then you've got the score line across there that shows you where to stop when you or where to start when you're putting the boning in. And also all the pieces on the front, they have notches on the sides so that you're able to know where those score lines actually are. I don't know whether you can see them. Yes, you can there. That's where your stitching goes. So you basically are going to sew one of these to one of these. So you've got the two together, just like that, and you're going to sew all the way around there like that. And then you do the same with the other, and that will be right sides together. So you've got right sides together, like so, and we're going to sew those together like that. Then once we've got those together, then we will pull them apart, and then I'll show you what to do next. So I'm going to bring the other camera over so that you'll be able to see the sewing part of it. Okay. So there we are. We've got our sewing machine ready. So now you can pin this. If you feel that you need to pop some pins in, then you're most welcome to do so. If you are a sewer, you may not need to put any pins in it. I just need to get my foot, it's over here, for the sewing machine that is. And it's just caught up a little bit on some other cords there. Pop it down on the floor. There we go. Okay, so just a normal stitch will do, starting at the sides. And just loop it at the back there. We're going to go around. And break it off there. Doesn't have to be perfect, so don't worry if it isn't. Get the other one. It's just round we go. Okay, actually got some clippers here too. Alright, so there we have our two pieces so far, like so. That's all they are. Is one piece here, one piece here. Right, and then what we do is we put our two wrong sides together, making sure that you've got the bigger piece here, which is the lower, and this is the smaller piece, which is the upper. So you can actually see which is which. You've got the bigger piece there is your lower, because that's the piece that'll go underneath your chin. And then you have the upper piece, which is the part that will then go around where your nose is. Okay, so having both of those, we need to have our elastic. Now if you want to, you can actually sew your elastic on first. We have our little notches here where you can actually sew your elastic in the casing there, like so, and the same on the other side here, like so. So you can actually sew those on first. Come in about maybe 1/8 of an inch, and you just need it just enough to hold it there, so to be straight over the top. Just like that. Then swing it around, and you can do the same on this side. Now you know where to put it because you can actually see those score lines there, so it goes in between those two score lines. This is the other piece of elastic, and the same down here, making sure that you have it round the right way and it's not twisted. Right, so we've got those done. So those two are already on there now, and then it's just a matter of stitching one onto the other, stitching this one onto this one. Now at this point in time, if you want to, you can stitch the boning on, but I find that it's just as easy to thread it through after, and then just top stitch it down. It will stay in place, and it will be on this area here. This is where it'll go. So we need to have that elastic just folded back there like that, making sure that we catch that when we go around the corner. Now you can pin this or clip it or whatever it is that you want. If you are pinning it, then you would pin it crossways, like so, like this. If you do it crossways, then you will find that the machine will run straight over them. But if you do it long ways, you pull the pins out as you go. Now for this area here where you've got your seams, one folds this way, one folds this way, and that way you'll find that your middle will sit flat. So then that goes across there like that. You will start just up from the corner, make it about a width of what your foot is. So yeah, it's about the width of a foot that you're going to start with. And you see the machine just runs straight over your pins. Come up to about 1/4 inch from the edge, which is about the width of your foot. You can take that pin out now. Now you will need to have a little bit of a gap left, because you'll need to do what we call bagging it out. Bagging it out means that you're bringing it from the inside to the outside. So I'm going to come across here like this, then I'm going to stop, back tack, then I'm going to lift the foot, and then I'm going to bring it down about this far here, and then I'm going to start again. So that area that I've left there will be our turning. We'll be able to turn this thing inside out by using that gap. Use your wheel on the side to turn when you're stopping and starting the machine. Now that one should have gone the other way, so I'm going to just flick that back that way, and that one goes that way. Okay, so off we go again. Now see our elastic moved there, so we're just going to snip that, bring that undone, bring it back to here, put that down, and we're going to pop a pin in there to hold that down. Even though I had hold of it, it still managed to move. So once you get it to stop, then just turn your wheel so that you can just take that pin out, so that you've got control over your sewing machine. Now we don't want to sew over our elastic there, so we're going to make sure that that's popped up the back there so that we don't sew over the top of it. There we go. Okay, and we can just sew straight down. And we're almost done. Now I can see that that didn't sew flat either, so I'll just bring that back like that, and making sure that there's no elastic in the way. it's out of the way. Just going to go back over this and make sure that that seam stays flat. You don't want it all bunchy underneath you, either underneath your chin or on the side of your face. I don't think. After a while of wearing it, it would become very uncomfortable. Okay, so then we take that there. Then what we do is we're going to cut the corners like so, and another one here. Cutting all 4 corners. That just helps when you're turning it in the other way. Now I'm going to snip this thread because this is where we're going to turn it in the correct way. Now I've got nails, so I can pop those into the corners to help it come through. And I'm going to switch on my little baby mini easy press so I can give it a quick press. Now you saw how quickly that came together, like so. There it is there. Just going to bring that up a little bit so you can see it. There it is there. And when it lays flat, it's going to lay flat like that. It's going to lay flat like that. These we're going to just press those down with our easy press. And we're just going to tuck our corner, push our corners out. I've got a boning folder here that I can do it with. It's got a point on it, but not to the point where it's going to push through. Okay, now here, and then up here. There we go. Now, next thing we do is we've got our piece of boning. So, we have this. I'm going to put it into the slot there. And I'm just going to bring it up to, it actually sits on top of the seam allowance. You'll see the seam allowance here. Can you see that seam allowance there? It's actually going to sit on the top of that seam allowance there. Can't go any further because that's where you've joined the two together. Now you can move it along and you've still got that little mark there. If you can't see the mark, don't worry about it. Just make sure that it's on top of your seam allowance. You can put your fingers through here and press your seam back. It just sits in there like that. Same on this side. Now if you feel that you need to put a clip on there or a pin on there or something like that, you can do that to hold it there prior to sewing. Yeah, it's about the right length. I find too that if you put the foot down, get your foot on there, then you can put your finger through here and make sure that it sits nicely on the seam right up to the seam edge. There it is there. So this is our boning, and then we're simply going to stitch along. This is what we call top stitching, where we're just going to stitch around it all the way around. Now when it comes to this area here where we've got that little gap, see that little gap there, we're then going to make sure that we grab our seam allowance and make sure that it's flat, and we're just going to top stitch over the top of it. Doesn't have to be perfect, so long as it holds it down. Same again, around we go. Right to the end. And then we're simply going to finish off where we started from. Okay, so there we have it. And just trimming that little piece off. Okay, so there is our mask. Then I will give it a little bit of a press with our Easy Press Mini. But there we have our mask. Right. Now, where your boning is up here, depending on the person, you would fold that in half like that, give that a bit of a pinch, and then pinch it about another inch from that one, but going the other way. So you do one side and then do the other side. Okay, so there you have it. There's the mask all done. Give it a bit of a press. If you don't have an Easy Press Mini, you can use an iron, no problem. Just give it a press on the inside, just to keep this area down. And if you really want to go, you can actually put that through there like that and go around your edges, that's fine. But then what you do is the middle. So you press it in the middle like so, and then about an inch up from where you've pressed it, pinched it together. You then pinch it the other way so that it forms like a Z like that. And then turn it around, and where you've done the first one, then you just simply fold that down for the second one, and you end up with something that looks like that. See the shape of it there, like that. And then that's the part that actually sits on the nose. The rest of it goes underneath your chin, and then when you're not wearing it, it simply just folds flat like that, or like that, usually like that. And then of course you've got your loops for your ears. So very easy to put together. I'll pop it on and then we'll have a look at it. There it is. So it covers the whole face, this side here, right under the chin. Sits nice on the nose there. Doesn't go up too close to the eyes. And the good thing about it is that it's not touching my lips. I'm talking like normal, and it's not touching my lips, so that's a good thing. Alright, so there you go, there's your mask.